Welcome along to the latest edition of Tutor Talk. Today we're going to talk about revising for the later subject exams, and I'm joined by my colleague Emma. Emma, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Emma Francis. Hi, I'm an ACTED tutor. I've been working in ACTED now for almost 8 years. I specialise in the later subjects, so that's the SA, SA2, because I'm a life actuary, SP2, also teach CP1, but then I also teach CM1 as well.
A nice mix. It's worth saying as well, I'm a later subject tutor as well, so we have a very vested interest, I would say, in this topic. So first of all, Emma, how do the later subjects differ from the early subjects?
Generally, they're like more wordy exams. The questions are more wordy with higher mark questions. Questions require a lot more tailoring to a specific scenario. And in your revision, you need to make sure that you're doing just that. It's really important. It also requires you to bring specific questions required to bring together different parts of the course. So it's not necessarily focusing on one particular area, but different parts of the course. Again, that's a skill that you need to make sure that you practice, gain that skill. And as well, if this is your first actual exam whilst working, it's juggling, studying, and working, which it's a challenge. And even if it's not your first, the later ones like the essays, you may be in a job with more responsibility. So it's just a higher workload. So it's that juggle, which can be a challenge.
Yeah, it gets harder, doesn't it? Just to set out the scope for what we're talking about today, we often talk about the phases of studying. So we talk about kind of learning, revising, and then rehearsing. Today we're kind of focusing on that revising and particularly, I guess, the rehearsing side of it. So everything that you might be doing once you've gone through the course notes and you're kind of happy with the basics of the content, what do you do next to prepare yourself for the exam? So what should we do, Emma? What should we do as part of that revision then?
So whilst you're learning, think about creating your notes, preparing notes, creating summaries or crib sheets that you can then use when you do during your exam. As part of revision, doing that during the learning stage. Then when you're revising and you're doing past papers, you can then use those notes, those crib sheets. That's really important. So the main part of the revising will be doing past papers and practicing questions, exam questions, to really ensure the familiarity with the material. And you also, for the later subjects, it's important, and definitely for the higher mark questions, to practice sort of like planning an answer. And part of that planning will be thinking of a structure to adopt. And the structure will depend on the wording of the question, but main common themes, common structure you can adopt would be thinking about a company's objectives. So think about profit, risk, capital, different stakeholders, even the external environment, and that definitely can help with the planning and answer, which you want to do as part of your revision stage, is to practice that planning.
And that's something that perhaps our crib sheets and summaries can help with, isn't it? That we can then use in the exams.
Yes, exactly.
So when should we start going through past papers then?
I would recommend about 6 weeks before the exam. So try to make sure that you've finished the course, read the course, and if you're doing assignments, do assignments, and make sure at 6 weeks before the exam you're going on to focus on past papers. Practice the whole exam. So practice reading the question, planning your answer, writing it up, and then it gives you a chance to use your crib sheets, your notes, to check that they actually work under time conditions. And if they don't, you might want to think about editing them so that they do. And it's really important not to look at the answers whilst you're doing the question, because that's often that's like an easy way. I kind of know what I was going to go that route, but try to be disciplined, complete your question, then look at the solution. And if it's your first later exam, then we do suggest getting some feedback. and that can be very valuable. So whether that's a marked mock paper or whether that's feedback from a colleague, it just would help with, to be critical, really, to your...
Completely agree. I failed my first later subject mock by quite a long way, because I completely didn't get the style of the exam, but I had time to sort it out and use that feedback to turn it around and pass the exam. So I'm a big advocate of marking for the later subjects. Completely agree, Emma. So we kind of touched on this. Some of the subjects are very broad as we get to the later exams. How do you work out where to focus your efforts? Because sometimes that can feel intimidating and stop people just starting.
Yes. So, do as part of, when you start practicing the exam, start doing past papers, do a paper, and then when you mark it or get it marked, it will identify the weaker area that you're not too sure about, and then you can focus on the next study session. You can focus on that weak area and think on practice questions, specifically tested that area, and then do another past paper to identify another week in the next session, and so on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I used to do. I used the revision books to consolidate those weaker areas. I think you can use the asset grid as well, which links to all the past papers as well. So you've got a few different routes to find those questions, but it's a good way to do it. Is there anything else, particularly perhaps now thinking about the later subjects, the essay level exams, is there anything else maybe people should think about for these exams?
Talk to colleagues in your company. If there's a particular area that you're not too sure about, you're not, say, I don't know, in essay 2 that with profits, go to the with profits team and talk to colleagues there, see how it's run. Also thinking about external publications, say the actuary, you could, that something that's quite quick, it comes through by email or by post. Focus on whichever, life insurance, general insurance, focus on what's, updates, what's topical at the time. Could help.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just anything that broadens your knowledge of your area, your specialism, is a really good thing. There's lots of good videos online as well, the IFOA videos that you can use just to, again, exactly as you said, just get a bit more knowledge about some of those more topical areas. Lovely. Anything else we could say more generally about coping with exams?
Well, it's really important, obviously, to look after yourself. They can be really stressful, and you can't study 24 hours of the day. Make time for yourself, make time for rest, sleep, and if you have a study day, look forward to something at the end of the day and treat yourself, whether that's going to the cinema or going for a run or watching a bit of Netflix. Just make sure that you're making time for yourself, because then you don't mind getting up next day and studying, whereas if you can constantly study and you'll wear yourself out.
Yeah, completely agree as well. And we'll pop a link in the description for this video to the exam wellbeing video that we recorded before, which has got some really useful tips on all of that and relaxation and how to look after yourself during those exams. Lovely. Thank you so much, Emma. There is some really, really good advice there. Hopefully you found that useful, and good luck if you are preparing for some of those later subject exams. We'll see you next time.